Hello, welcome to another episode of Jim's Allotment Garden. Okay, so we're in the first tunnel. As you can see, I just want to quickly show you the broccoli. And now, as you can see, the heads have formed really well. So that's probably about sort of 5 inches across. Some of them are a bit larger, as you can see. Now, I'm going to be cropping all of these. So this one's a particularly big one here. I'm going to be cropping all of these in the next, the next 24 hours, really. And this comes back to the comment where I said about F1 hybrids. You know, they will all sort of come together. You know, pretty much at the same time. So what I'm going to be doing is cropping all of these. Obviously what I'll do is I'll chop it up, eat what we can, freeze the rest, and then I'll be clearing this tunnel out altogether, and then dig it, sort of quickly dig it over, rejuvenate the soil, putting some chicken manure and other sort of compost and stuff in, and then I'll be able to you know, sort of plant the second lot in here. Which is in the greens, which I showed you in the last clip, and then as soon as all that's all in, obviously then we'll be ready with the third lot in about 8 weeks time. Okay, I'm really late with the peppers this year. This is basically where I've got to now. I did plant them late. I normally plant them a lot earlier in the year. But I really don't know if anything's going to come of these. By rights, these should be I don't know, a foot or more high now, and I should be having flowers on them and startings of fruit. But what I'm going to do is just battle on to see what I can get out of, you know, what I've got. These are the Figaro ones. I've only had one jalapeno plant germinate, and there's some cayenne peppers as well. Now, I don't know what the season's going to do, so all I can do is plant these up. I'm not going to put them in too big a pot. I'm just going to put them in these little square pots for now. And all I'm going to do is separate them out of this tray, putting my finger underneath like that, pulling out as much of the root as I can. Obviously dealing with the root, not the actual stalks or anything like that. And all I'm going to do is pop them up. Now, as I say, I should have been doing this at least 6 weeks ago, but as things have gone this year, I just haven't. I planted them late, and they've been really slow growing because of the season we've had. But this is the thing with gardening. You never can really sort of guess what's going to happen. But all I'm going to do is pop these up. As I say, nothing may come of these, but I'd rather try and fail than just kind of give up on them, to be honest with you. But I have got other peppers growing in the greenhouse, which are sort of that height at the moment, and they're a little bit behind. But so I'm going to pop the rest of those up, along with the jalapeno plant that I've got as well. And I've also got the germination rate is not very good, but there's these spectrum. I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spectrums. Oh, sorry, 7 spectrums, and there's these rainbows. So these are the sort of the larger peppers. But as I say, the germination this year has been terrible, and what it's been down to is basically the changing in weather we had. We had quite a sort of warm spring, and things were doing quite well, and then basically what we've had over the last couple of weeks is we've had a real cold snap, plenty of rain, and the sort of the atmosphere has not really been at best for growing these sorts of plants. Others have really thrived. Brassicas have done well, but unfortunately things that in the greenhouse, the tomatoes haven't done too badly, but things like peppers and that have just basically stalled. They just haven't sort of grown anywhere near as much as I would have expected them to this year. I mean, these should be really on the way now, and they should be growing really rapidly, but they're just not. They've just kind of given up, to be honest with you. But still, I'm going to see what I can get out of these. I'll grow them on, and then as soon as these plants have got a bit bigger, so if they've got to, I don't know, maybe 6 inches high, what I'll do is I'll pot them up into larger pots, and finally they'll end up in something like a 6 or 8 inch pot. And then what I can do then is hopefully get some peppers off them, but it's going to be the end of the year most certainly if I get anything at all. But this is what the peppers look like at the moment. Okay, just quickly show you the second tunnel. So in here was the spinach and the beetroot last year, but what I've done is I've pulled all of that out, and then it's all been dug over and also rotivated. So this year will be for the all of the gourds, so things like pumpkins, things like butternut squashes, and also courgettes will be planted in here around the sort of the edge of it. And I'm going to sort of concentrate the plants up this end by the door, and then I'm going to let the things like the pumpkins and that grow that way. So the actual pumpkins will probably end up in this half. So there won't be much planted as far as plant is concerned. But as soon as I've got all the pumpkins that's in here, this tunnel will be pretty much filled with plants. Even though the roots will be over here where I can water, the actual plants will grow over there, and they can get up to about sort of, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 foot long, and then obviously the pumpkins will end up over there. And so I'll be able to sort of water them this end, and then sort of leave that bit at the top there. So what I need to do to prepare this a little bit further, obviously the ground's been dug over, but I've not put any manure or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the 3 spots. So the courgette plant's going to go right at the end, because obviously that's the smallest plant, and then the butternut squashes are going to go on one side, the pumpkins are going to go on the other side, or either both sides. I think I've only got 2 butternut squashes plants this year. And then, so they'll go every sort of metre or so, up this side and up this side. I want to dig some chicken manure in this end, and then what I'm going to do is plant them in, and then on top of that I'm going to put grass cuttings and also wood chip, just to maintain the sort of the moisture in the soil. So I need to water them the least amount, but obviously I will keep them well watered. The thing with all gourd plants, you need to keep them well watered. So obviously if I can keep the ground moist, then that'll be they'll like it all the more. Now the reason why I'm growing them in the tunnel is threefold. One, I want to try and contain them, because last year they kind of got a bit of out of hand and they kind of grew all over the place. If they're in the tunnel, they'd be reasonably well contained. The second reason is they do tend to like a bit more sort of shaded area. Any plant that's got large leaves on it typically likes the sort of shaded area. So because they've got large leaves, obviously I think they're going to do well in the shade. So obviously they'll get some shade from the net and that as well. But also what the net is going to do is slow the wind down coming through. So if I can slow the wind coming through, then the ground's going to get less dry, so therefore there's more moisture for the plants. So they should benefit from being in this tunnel. So fingers crossed. This is the first time I've actually grown them in a tunnel. I've always grown them outside in the open garden, but I'm going to see how they get on this year, and then I'll let you know how they get on as we go through the season. Okay, so as you can see, the sweet peas are doing well. I'm just sort of picking some now. So I just thought I'd quickly show you. What you need to do is, if that's the sweet pea there, you need to go all the way down to the bottom where it comes out and just take it off the plant there. And then you very quickly get a nice little bunch of them together. Now, the things with sweet peas is the more you pick, the more they'll grow. If you allow them to run to seed, then the plant will just basically die on you. So what you need to do is keep picking them. Enjoy them in the house, just pick a sort of handful like that. I normally pick about twice this amount, to be honest with you. I picked some the other day, so I'm just picking off these ones. Drop them in a little vase of water, and they'll last in the house for 3 or 4 days. And by the time these have run out, you can guarantee there'll be a second lot of sort of sweet peas ready to go. One thing you do need to do, until the plant starts to develop these tendrils, these bits that hold on, what you need to do is just run some string across, just to hold them into the framework. As soon as you get to kind of 3 foot high, sort of this kind of level, then they'll start to develop these tendrils and they'll start to hold on to things. But what you need to do when they're young is just tie them in. As you can see here, there's some string here and here. I need to put another piece of string in just to hold this one up, which I'll do in a moment. But that's what the sweet peas look like at the moment. Okay, just a quick note on the sunflowers. What I've done is I've tied the sunflower just a loop of string onto the cane. Now the good thing about putting canes upright like this is as the sunflower grows up, the string will actually move up with it, and what you need to remember is these stalks will end up being something like 2 inches across, so you need to leave enough string in there to accommodate the stalk as it gets bigger. As you can see, we've already got the heads forming for the flowers, so these are going to be flowering in the next couple of months. There's actually one there, and you can see just with the petal out. But I've gone along and I've basically tied them all up, so as they grow, obviously this can slide up, you know, so it, you know, they're held in, but the you know, they can slide up as they get bigger. You know, the actual string will go up with the plant itself. So that's what you need to do with the sunflowers at the moment. Okay, so just do a real quick tour of the allotment. So here we've got some broccoli that's about to go in. There's just a few plants left over which will go in the next few days. This is the next batch of broccoli which will go in. This needs to be potted up in the near future to basically replace these as and when they've fruited. And then we've got the basil that's just come through here. That's going to go into the other greenhouse, and then these are the pepper plants growing quite merrily at the moment. So I know these are late, but I'm just trying to get some peppers of this year of some kind. But that's basically the what the peppers look like at the moment. So that's all we've got in that greenhouse. We've just done another batch of comfrey tea. As you can see, there's quite a few bottles come out of there in the last couple of days. So I'm now ready to put all of this comfrey into the pot as well, so we can make some more for later. Right, going into this greenhouse, obviously we've got all the tomatoes that are doing really well. As you can see, they're up to about sort of about 4 foot, 5 foot now. So on this side we've got all moneymaker apart from these 3 plants at the end here, which are the Golden Sunrise. Then we've got those 4 plants at the end there. Those are the Gardener's Delight, which are the small cherry tart tomatoes. And then on this side again we've got Moneymaker. Now the difference between that side and this side were only planted sort of a couple of days apart, but you can see the difference in the plants here, how sort of large and chunky they are compared to these. These are a bit sort of spindly in comparison. Now the difference is this side here had a lot more chicory manure dug into the bottom, so it just goes to show it pays to put a lot more chicory manure in, and obviously, you know, the more fertiliser you've got, if you get the ground right, then obviously the plants will follow quite nicely. So you can see these are doing really well. I'm getting loads of these side shoots at the moment, which I'm pulling out on a daily basis. Plus there's these side shoots here for them, you need to pull them out, and some you get some like this where you have to kind of sort of snap it off because you've got a kind of a leaf in there as well. So it's better cut off with a pair of secateurs. But that's the tomatoes. The grapes have been thinned out quite a lot. As you can see, these bunches of grapes here, which are fattening out now. So I've basically got 10 bunches of grapes running along. So I've got a nice big bunch at the end here, as you can see in these here. Now this one, this is probably going to struggle with the weight a bit. So what I'm going to do is tie that up just to support it a bit better. And there's another bunch here, and then there's some more bunches just above us here. And then as we go along here, there's another bunch there. And there's some more bunches at the end here. So I've cut probably about another small one here. I've cut probably about sort of 15-20 bunches of grapes out, because what I'm trying to do is get a few good sized bunches of grapes out of this greenhouse this year. So anyway, that's the second greenhouse. Along here we've got the hollyhock. As you can see, that's grown to about 6 foot tall now, and we've got all the mint and everything doing really well. Inside here is the actual rosemary bush. But I keep pulling this mint back to try and get a bit of light, but the mint's kind of taken over everything at the moment. So here we've got some, that's the asparagus, so that'll go in the ground soon. We've got some spinach and some beetroot there, which is going to go in the ground soon. So just moving along here, we've got the asparagus, which is obviously grown really high now. We are suffering with dryness really, but the fruit's done really well. As you can see, we've still got loads of raspberries coming. We've picked quite a few of those already. Along here we've got the jostaberries. As you can see here, they're starting to ripen now, so we've got quite a few on there, and along here there's quite a few as well that are growing really well. The cherries have just about finished now. The apples are just about coming along. We've just about picked all of the strawberries now, but there are still a few coming. As you can see, there's just a few sort of dotted along the road, but these strawberries will be sorted out soon. Right, here we've got the potatoes. As you can see, with the dry weather that we've had, they're looking a bit sorry for themselves now, but I'm leaving them in. I'm not going to dig any up yet, but that's what the potatoes look like. The sweet peas are doing really well. I've picked a load of these off last night, and as you can see, by the time you've picked them the following day, it's full of new flowers again. So in here we've got the weeds again, but we've got all the kale on this side, which is growing really well. That's the second batch of broccoli at the end there, and this is the first batch. So there's still a few florets, as you can see here. There's a floret there, and there's one at the back there, which I'm still sort of picking off. And then there's one there that's gone too far, but the chickens will have all of this. But there was a few that were a little bit late, so these are kind of the, if you like, the side sort of shoot, if you like. So there's the main plant there, and then this was a side plant, so there's like all the florets coming off them. So I'll be picking those, and you can see the sort of side florets here as well. But these will pretty much be pulled out in the next few days. I'll take off what's left and freeze that. But we've already got about 15 kilos of broccoli from up here this year. And like this one here, that's out the first batch as well, so that wasn't picked, so you can see that's just about ready to go now. But hopefully these will be online in the next few weeks. Right, so that's the first tunnel. Okay, moving down the plot, we've got the second lot of potatoes here. Now the weeds have been absolutely horrific. I've been weeding this for the past couple of days, as and when I can, so I've been coming up and pulling out loads and loads of weeds. But the onions have been absolutely inundated with weeds, you can see, and the potatoes, so all the potatoes have been weeded as best I can, and I'm just working my way through the onions, the parsnips and the spinach here. As you can see, we're sort of getting there slowly but surely, but the next few days hopefully I'll get all this cleared. And then in the second tunnel here we've got the gourd, so we've got butternut squash there, and then these here are courgettes, and then those last sort of 6 plants there are pumpkin plants. These are courgette plants again here. And I've been putting the grass around. Obviously I've dug a load of chicken manure in the ground, and these have been in the ground probably about a week now. So this has all been dug over, and I'm putting grass on just to keep the moisture in the ground, because it is really dry at the moment. The rhubarb's starting to go over a little bit now because of the time of year that it is, but that's what the rhubarb looks like. Again, these potatoes here are absolutely inundated with weeds. I've had weeds like you won't believe this year. These have already been weeded twice this year, and you can see there's, you know, within a week or so the weeds come back and they're sort of overtaking everything. There's a lot of chickweed in there this year, which I've been pulling out, but I don't pull too much out because you end up damaging the potato plants if you're not careful. These are the French beans, or the string beans, as you can see, doing really well. We've got all the calandras up the front, which are just starting to come into flower now, which are looking really nice amongst the weeds. And we've just got weeds everywhere at the moment. I think everybody in this country is the same situation at the moment. There's just weeds everywhere. But as you can see, the string beans are all coming on. As soon as you get to the top, what you need to do with any of the beans really, but as soon as you get to the top like this, you get just pull the top out at the end out the shoot. So you just break that off like that, and what that'll do is it'll encourage the plant to start bushing from the bottom, and then that'll you know, fill out the row a bit more than would be normally. Up this side we've got even more weeds, as you can see. It's the other side of the potatoes. This bit here needs to be weeded out again. As you can see here, I've started on the parsnips and the onions from this side as well, so I've basically just got that middle section there to weed out. But it's taken me quite a while to sort of work my way through, obviously, because you need to be really careful with parsnips and onions that you don't damage them as you're weeding them. But I've got out loads of weeds already, and I'm still kind of working my way through, but I will get there. The sunflowers have just about started to open up. They're a bit smaller than they are normally, and I think that's probably because of the sort of hot and dry weather that we've had this year, but they're coming on nonetheless. These are the runner beans. As you can see, they're doing quite well, and they've reached the top already, and again I've already started to kind of pull these sort of end bits out to encourage the bushes to the plants to bush out a lot more than they would do normally. If you don't do this, then what they tend to do is get quite top heavy, and you find that you know, you get a lot of growth at the top, and then sort of further down you don't get so much at the bottom. But if you do take the tops out, they tend to grow more shoots from the bottom, and then you get the beans at more sort of eye height, if you like, rather than them all being at the top. This is the other side of the potatoes. As you can see, these have all been weeded out, but they do tend to kind of flop over a bit after you've weeded them. But other side of the strawberry. But we have had a lot of strawberries this year. These are the apples again. As you can see, we're going to have a reasonable crop of apples this year, and raspberries. But just these weeds in here, as you can see, that's just what I pulled out yesterday. You know, it's the amount of weeds that we've got are absolutely horrendous at the moment, and everybody's the same. All of the plots on the field, you know, everybody's really struggling to keep up with the weeds. But that's just as it is at the moment. Right, that's the celery in there, which has really struggled with the heat because it's been really hot and dry. But it's growing nevertheless. And we're back to the start. So that's what the plot looks like. Today's the 8th of July. Okay, so this is the smaller of the two windmills from up the allotment. As you can see, it's a little bit worse for wear. The one of the blades has come off here. It's here, so that should be kind of sitting in there. But unfortunately, that's come off. The weld's broke, and it stopped turning basically. This part as well, because the bearings are exposed. I don't know if you can see, but just inside there, the bearings are exposed, and basically water's coming down here and settling on there. So what I need to do is make a bit of something to go around there to stop that from getting exposed to the weather basically. So I need to make like a little collar to go over there, and then I'm just going to take it all apart, give it a bit of a paint job, because I think it's been up the allotment about 4 or 5 years now. And as you can see, it was originally purple, and if I sort of do that, you can just about see the original colour, but it's faded with the sunlight. So I thought, whilst it's down, I'll give it a bit of a paint job, paint it up so it's nice and bright and sunny again, and then we can put it back up in the allotment. So I just thought I'd just do a quick couple of video clips of me doing it up, and I'll show you what it looks like step by step as I move my way through it. Okay, so I've just unbolted all of the blades, so they're here, as you can see just here. I've unbolted all of them, so basically what I can do now is I can align up this one that's missing in there, and then I can sort of weld that on. But first, before I need to do that, obviously I need to clean up where I'm going to weld it, so I need to sort of wire brush all of this and that bit there, then I can weld it back on and then sort of take it from there. Okay, so the next step, what I'm going to do is I've taken off the blades and I've got, this is the bit that normally sort of shows the direction. Now obviously the bearings are exposed on this side here, so what I've just done is just taken the bolt off the bottom there, so I can now lift this off basically, which will expose the bearings at the bottom and the bearings at the top. What I can do is pack that full of grease to get them nicely lubricated, so when it goes back up they'll stay nicely sort of moving and moving smoothly and everything. So what I'll do is take all that off now and then grease it all up and put it all back together. Okay, so I've taken all the what used to be the wheel, basically this wheel will be, which is in the centre. I've taken that all apart and I've cleaned the bearings, greased the bearings, put them all back together. I've done exactly the same thing with the rotating part here, so that's all nice and smooth now, and this is also nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do now, with a wire brush, I'm just going to take off all the paint from the centre of here and there, and on these two here. Then I'll be able to get a nice clean weld onto there, and I'll weld them all on again. Okay, so I'm about ready to weld the one of the two broken sort of things back in. So what I've done is I've made up a jig, and now I know that if that is aligned with there, you can just see the line, the pencil marks around the bottom, and that one's aligned to those pencil marks on the bottom of that. If you look at the pencil marks here, I know if that goes into that slot there and in there, then that's perfectly aligned with all of the others, so it's a perfectly symmetrical wheel. So all I need to do is line up them holes, and I've basically just drawn those lines off these three. So I basically clipped it between that one and saw where that one was lying, and then I've checked it here and there, and I know that this is right now. So all I need to do is basically just to line that up in the centre at the back there and on there. So also with this piece of wood being along the bottom, I know that it's at the right kind of height that way as well, because obviously if that's clamped to the bottom of there and that's clamped to the bottom of there, then obviously gravity's going to hold that onto there, so I know it's all straight, so I can weld that in place. I'll do that now and I'll show you what it looks like when I've finished it. Okay, so that's all of the blades sort of welded back on. It's not the prettiest weld I've ever done, but it's most certainly strong and it's not going to break. So the problem that I've got with this is I'm welding steel that's been galvanised, and unfortunately it's been sort of dip galvanised, so it's not electroplated. So the zinc is right the way into the steel, so it doesn't weld very well at all. And also I'm welding onto the hub of a little bike, and basically the metal in there is so thin, you know, I'm really finding to sort of melting it. But anyway, I've managed to get it all welded up. So what I'll do is I'll now brush that, and then that's ready for paint, and we can start to reassemble the framework. Okay, so we're ready to put it back up in the allotment now. So this is the finished weather vane. So this part here has all been stripped down and repainted with sort of black and white and grey to look like a actual shark fin. So that was the bit that was purple before, so that's all been painted up. In the centre here, just to protect the bearings here, which I showed you being reworked, basically what I've done is I've put this sort of circle of aluminium in there, and all I did is cut out a circle of aluminium and then sort of cut a slot in it there, and then pull that together and just pop riveted in to make like a sort of dome bit, so the water will run off there and then sort of miss the bearings if you like. And then the rotor itself's all been repainted black. These bits of metal here have been repainted silver, and obviously we've cleaned up all of the blades, all new bolts put in there. So now that's all ready to go, all nicely smooth and running round as it should do. And obviously this part here will do the direction of the wind, so that's all ready to go. So we're now ready to put it back in the allotment, and that should be good for the next few years. So, I hope this episode was of some use to you. Please don't hesitate to put any comments or questions you got below, and I'll always get back to you. And I'll see you on the next episode of Jim's Not the Garden.